On today's season preview, part 3.
Freddie Mercury wants to know which player is under the most pressure.
All eyes on Kobe Bean Bryant. Will this be his final season?
And Trey dives into the memes to tell us who will be this year's social media MVP.
The Starters 72 Burning Question starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to part 3 of the Starters NBA season preview. Whether you're listening to the podcast or watching us on NBA TV, YouTube, Facebook, it doesn't matter. We're happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, Tess Mellis.
Thank you so much for joining us.
To my right, Starters blog editor, Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey-yo! And finally, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friends.
Lele. All right, we are tackling 72 burning questions. 16 are already up on the corkboard. We are getting oh so close to cracking
We're getting
this case.
close. Things are coming together.
They really are.
That's Fabio. No, it's not.
I think Rachel Ray did it.
She might have.
She may win the title this year. So 16 questions down, many more to go. I would tell you specifically how many are to go, but I'm not good at math.
Rough.
So let's just get
maybe a Mario Lemieux.
to question
Oh no, 56.
17.
Lawrence Taylor.
Question 17, we ask you to play along at home. Jump on Twitter, hashtag the Starters with your answers. Guys, want to know which player is under the most pressure? I like this question. Who's under the most pressure?
I think it's Joakim Noah of the Chicago Bulls. I think no one, including the Bulls, should be conceding the East to the Cleveland Cavaliers. There's some uncertainty around Kyrie Irving, around their entire backcourt. Iman Shumpert out for an extended period of time. Tristan Thompson not coming into camp because of the contract dispute. Joakim Noah is the centerpiece for the Chicago Bulls team. We're talking about a great player. I'm not talking about a role player. We're talking about a player who dropped off a little bit last year after an incredible 13-14 season. I think people are quick to forget what he did in that 13-14 season.
He was awesome.
Was it simply because that he had knee surgery before last year? Was it basically the shortest prime of an all-NBA player's career? Yeah, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about an all-NBA player. He won Defensive Player of the Year, and he was 4th in MVP voting. And he just sort of dropped off. So if he's a role player on this team, then I don't really see them catching the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference standings. But if he can get back to where he was a couple years ago, and he looks like it in preseason, he's taking care of his body. He says he's doing a lot of yoga, Lee.
Yeah, smart.
He said this isn't his first rodeo. No one knows if he's actually been to a rodeo. Sure. But
Seems like a guy that would go to a rodeo.
I
Probably.
agree. I do agree.
I think it helps not having Tom Thibodeau there as well for a guy like him. I think he really did push him a lot, and Joe's body last year needed a little bit more rest, I think, because I think that's what it was. He just wasn't healthy last season, and that affected his whole game.
Well, he played 30 minutes a game last year, and he just didn't look good from the get-go. And maybe it's just a year that you need off or just to recover from that surgery, but now he looks fantastic. And again, Derrick Rose is past his prime. Pau Gasol is past his prime. Those guys aren't getting any younger. This guy could be the key to getting that number 1 seed. And this team was up 2-1 on the Cavs in the second round. They have the capability.
I am interested, though, that you think Noah's under more pressure than Derrick Rose. That surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, I think Derrick Rose isn't going to get a lot better than last year. I think Joakim Noah has a lot more room to grow from last year. And it wasn't that long ago that he was that great.
And I think the injuries do play a big part because they took him out of his game, and when Noah's out of his game, the timing isn't there, and you can tell he just doesn't have the same energy. And the Bulls really need his energy and his leadership. He's their emotional leader, and if he's healthier this year, if he's bouncy again, he can speak up in the locker room, he can talk to the press, he can say things that he might not be as comfortable saying when he's hurt and not playing so well.
If the Bulls are healthy, and let's say the Cavs are healthy for the most part too, are the Bulls the second best team in the East?
Probably.
Is it in a runaway ahead of your Hawks and your Wizards and your Raps, or is it fairly close?
Certainly not a runaway,
no,
because we just haven't seen the Bulls be able to get over that LeBron hump just yet. But I definitely think if Rose is healthy and Noah is healthy, they're certainly going to push the Cavs better than they did last season.
All right, what about you, Trey? Which player is under the most pressure to you?
I think this is a huge season for Chris Paul because you look at the past 2 playoffs, the way things ended for the Clippers, and it hasn't really played out very well for Chris Paul. Back in 2014, up 7 with 49 seconds left. And Chris Paul turns the ball over twice, fouls Russell Westbrook on a 3-pointer, and then last year it seemed like the Clippers had turned a corner, beating the Spurs in 7 games. Chris Paul hits that incredible shot to win things in Game 7, but then they blew a 3-1 lead pretty famously against the Rockets, including that Game 6 comeback, up 19 and lost by 12. That's kind of incredible that happened. I also think this summer was kind of an indictment on Chris Paul's leadership with DeAndre Jordan leaving. It seems like there was a lot of internal strife with the Clippers, so I think this year you're going to see Chris Paul hopefully try to
Well,
lead a little bit
DeAndre
different.
Jordan is still there, though.
Yeah,
So in the
exactly.
end-
Yeah.
Exactly. But there was definitely problems between them personally. You can tell. And I think that that's going to make Chris Paul grow and kind of lead in a different way. And if that's the case, maybe the Clippers go a bit farther.
Now, I
Huge
don't wanna put- I
optimism
don't- I don't
for-
want to put words in your mouth, sorry, but you are sort of always piling on Chris Paul. And
I think
you're bringing
rightfully
the-
so.
Yeah, exactly. I understand what you're saying. What do you want from him, though, this year? Is it just simply get to the finals, get to the conference finals? Like, what will make you happy for a successful Chris Paul season?
I would like to see a conference finals appearance, and I would like to see him not yell at his teammates for 48 minutes a game.
You think
for
he's
an
going to
entire
really
thing.
I think
change at
DeAndre
this
would
point
like
in
that
his
as
Well, I
career?
think he can be a little more encouraging. Remember Steve Nash? He was famous for being the guy who touched his teammates the most times. He's like, "Great job, man. Way to get out there." You know, it just helps.
Did
to
that
be a
result
nice
in any
guy.
conference finals?
Yes.
Yes.
For Steve Nash, one?
3.
He didn't-
That's still one more than Chris Paul at this point.
Well, as far as Chris Paul goes, I think if you want to be a leader, you got to kind of know how to get the most out of guys. And DeAndre isn't a getting yelled at type guy. He is a rah-rah type guy. But I think what Chris Paul has this year is Paul Pierce around. I think Paul
That'll
Pierce,
help.
Yeah.
that internal
Yeah.
policing of Paul Pierce, that championship pedigree of Paul Pierce, something that Chris Paul obviously doesn't have, is going to help because it's going to come from the players.
Yeah, well, Paul Pierce was a huge signing for them for that reason because he's got another guy he can rely on, Chris Paul, at the end of games to knock down big shots. And again, if they had Paul Pierce last year, I don't think there's any way they lost Game 6 to the Houston Rockets.
And we're talking about year 4 here with this big 3 together. And as Doc Rivers said, they've been together 4 years. It's going to be their 5th year. It's sort of like Chicago Bulls. I think their window is closing. And the Clippers' window is closing
Right.
as well. They've got to put it together now.
What do you got, Lee? Under pressure.
It's LeBron James. It's been him for the last few years, and it's going to be him for the next few years. And the reason why is I think he's the only player currently in the league who, when his career is done, he might be the best player we've ever seen. We've still got some time to play before we find out that. But he's been to the last 5 straight, NBA finals, and basically we've put him in number 6 already this season before the season's even tipped off.
Right.
No other player in the league we could really say that about. Kevin Durant's fantastic, Steph Curry's fantastic, James Harden, all these guys. But I don't think any of them really could do what LeBron is capable of doing. We saw in the finals last year when Kyrie Irving went down. He basically had a shadow outfit support him, and they still won 2 games, and still they challenged the Warriors as best they could. LeBron can only do so much. I just think that he has got so much on his shoulders that he's got so much to lose.
Right, because you mean he has the pressure because it's a horrible season if they don't win the finals.
It's a horrible
he's one of
season.
the rare
If
people
he
like
doesn't
that.
even get to the finals, it's like LeBron, he choked, he did all this
Yeah.
stuff. And the thing about him is we always also say you have to beat LeBron to validate your title win as well. And there's no one else really in the league who you can say that about. Again, if the Warriors don't make it back to the finals this year, we're not going to say, well, they got lucky last season. We're just going to kind of expect someone else from the West to come through. We don't expect anyone else really to get
Right.
out of the East apart from LeBron's Cavs, even if Kyrie's not healthy, even if Kevin Love's not healthy. We just feel he's that good a player that he can carry any unit to the finals.
I mean, these are good picks. Noah, Chris Paul, LeBron. I'm going to sort of go a tier down, definitely a tier down from some of those guys. I'll go with Rondo having a ton of pressure. And we've talked about it already a little bit here in the season previews, but this guy, he's betting on himself because he only got that 1-year deal with the Kings. We know it did not end well in Dallas. He has to prove not only to the Kings, but the rest of the league with the big TV deal money kicking in soon, whether or not this guy can still be a starting point guard in this league, whether or not he is still a big contract guy. I mean, he really is, in my mind, playing for his last possible big deal.
Definitely.
Again, with that money coming in, the TV deal. He needs to, first off, outplay the incumbent point guard in Darren Collison. He needs to, of course, get along with not only DeMarcus, but George Karl there. I mean, and management there with the Kings. There's a lot of pressure on this guy, just financially.
But was he going to get more than a 1-year
That's the
deal
thing,
than
yeah.
from anyone else? He got
No,
kicked
he
off from
probably
his
wasn't.
team. He got
If he
kicked
had
off
a
from his
great
team
season with
and still
Dallas,
got
maybe.
$9.5 million. So is he under pressure?
He's under pressure financially. But whether or
that's
not
true.
he gets that big deal, that's what I'm looking at. All right, we got lots more still to come here. The debates are flying. When we return, is Kobe Bryant ready to play his last season here? Is this the curtain call? Come on back. Back with the Starters season preview where we're answering 72 burning questions about the upcoming season. We are at question 18. Let's get to it. Guys, sort of a 2-part question, but the first part, what's one prediction for Kobe Bean Bryant this season?
I think Kobe Bean Bryant is going to pull out his really big rings, not for his really big team,
No.
but for himself. And it's going to be when someone gets under his nerves. Last year, he pulled him out on the bench. He had to say to somebody, I've done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But there's going to be someone who gets under his skin, on the court, and that's when he's going to do it. And we're going to have a great moment on the internet, a great moment on television where he puts those 5 digits right in someone's grill.
Counts them out. Right
Counts
there.
out those 5 big rings.
All right, what about you, Trey? Prediction for Kobe?
Basically, the only thing I remember from Kobe last year was him yelling at pretty much everybody, whether it was Mitch Kupchak in practice or Jeremy Lin for not fouling against the Grizzlies. He was just super, super angry
Yeah, he was
for
angry.
the entirety of last season. He got mad that Nick Young, Jeremy Lin, and Jordan Hill were celebrating a victory. They pulled him on Jimmy Kimmel. He couldn't believe it. I think we're going to see a lot more of the same because I don't think the Lakers are going to be much better. Plus, they added Lou Williams. Plus, they added Roy Hibbert. Plus, he's going to be playing with basically 2 rookies in Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell. I just think there's a lot of potential for Kobe to get pretty frustrated.
To be yelling at people. Like,
Yeah, and that's probably why he's going to throw up the 5 in somebody's face like, hey, man, relax. I'm doing my best here.
You're probably right. Lee, Kobe prediction?
Well, I think he's actually going to go for 50 points again. I think we're going to
Wow.
see another 50-point game.
throwback.
Based on what these guys are saying, someone's going to upset him so much that he's just going to go and take over. The last time he actually scored 50, he scored 60. It was in Madison Square Garden. That was 6 years ago. But the thing is,
That was 6 years
Wow.
ago.
years ago.
I feel old.
They didn't even have HD TVs back then.
The thing is with Kobe, you know, like if this is his last season as well, he wants to go out with at least one sort of final Kobe performance. Might not get to 80 again, but I think he's going to get to 50 plus.
I have a fun prediction for Kobe and a serious one. The fun one, though, is that we are going to see a Fresh Prince moment between Kobe and either Nick Young or possibly Lou Williams. And this is the Fresh Prince moment I'm talking about. When Will and Carlton
This was such a travesty at Bel Air Academy.
fighting
man.
for the final shot, and then
Tore the
Carlton
team apart.
chucks it up and throws up an air ball. I think we're going to see that at like the end of a second or third quarter at some point this season, just fighting for the ball. My serious prediction, though, is one that Kevin Pelton said on ESPN. He thinks that we're going to see Kobe this season is going to be a little similar to Michael Jordan Wizards era. Jordan. It's going to be similar in the sense 20-point scoring average.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of low efficiency, though. Let's call it like it is. But you said this, Lee, the 50-point there, a few sort of games sprinkled in.
Yeah.
And he's done it the last few years, when healthy.
Yeah, a few games sprinkled in where you're like, oh, yeah, he still got it. And, you know, Jordan was still scoring 20, 21 there in those final 2 Wizards era seasons. I know a lot of people like to pretend they never happened, but they did. And, you know.
We had a 51 too, Jordan.
That's right.
So,
In the end, though, the Wizards didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Jordan couldn't get them there. I don't think Kobe's going to be able to get the Lakers there. But let's hear your predictions for Kobe. Look, the follow-up question is, do you think this is Kobe's final season? Is he done after this season?
I do. I think he's hinting at it a ton, and I think just the 82 games gets him. Our own Rick Fox said that he could go abroad, and that sort of makes sense, where he can get any shot that he wants, number one. And number two, you don't play 82 games. You play a couple times a week, and you just can't stop Kobe from playing. There's 4 games on the sched this week. Kobe's playing in all 4.
Yeah, but I feel like our own Rick Fox also said that Kobe might be going to the Knicks eventually,
Yeah.
so that's
He
kind of
changed
why.
his mind.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't think Kobe's going to ever retire. I think he's just going to keep playing until somebody bans him from the league for whatever reason. So I can't see him ever retiring. So definitely not this season.
I don't think he retires after this season as well. I hope he stays with the Lakers.
the injuries.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Contract situation. But
he
he only is 37 years old.
Yeah,
and
but-
we saw Jordan go,
Lot of
and I know he
miles.
took years off.
A lot of miles on those legs.
But he did go till 39.
I remember that interview we had with Ahmad Rashad, though, and you could just tell in his voice that the injuries were just starting to weigh him down.
They
And
are.
I think that's it. He wants to go out sort of now while he's still
Okay,
got a little left in the
Look,
tank.
if Kobe has a 4th consecutive year where injuries end his season, then yes, maybe. But he plays 65-plus games. Maybe Byron Scott cuts down on his minutes. Why couldn't he? You're laughing,
It's
but why
hard
couldn't
because
he
it's
do it?
Kobe Bryant.
I know.
I could see him go for 20 per, no problem.
You know, I've said this before. If you look at the role Paul Pierce plays now, Kobe could do that for another team. But I just don't know if he can really accept that
Right.
role out for his
He
ego.
could, yeah.
All right, next question here. Guys, award-based question. Who wins Defensive Player of the Year? That's tough.
Yeah, it's tough to predict it
Yeah.
right now, but I think Rudy Gobert is everyone's man crush right now. I mean, the guy stands
I'm with
there
you.
and he's reaching at 9'7". Everyone loves this guy, and there's a reason for it. He's only got 37 career starts under his belt. I think it helps that a wing won it in Kawhi Leonard last year. The big guy always has the advantage. And after the break, this Utah Jazz team was phenomenal on defensive end by far.
Oh, yeah.
Far and away above every other team by 5 points. 5 points, a difference between the first and second ranked defensive team. I think it's Rudy Gobert's to lose. If they're in the playoff picture, which I think they will be, I think Rudy Gobert could take it home.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. He's my pick. I do have the man crush on him. He sort of feels like he was meant to win this award at some point because he likes to play defense.
Yeah.
He takes that responsibility of guarding the rim very, very seriously. I like that little thing you threw in there, Taps, about, you know, we had Kawhi win it a sort of a guard player.
Yeah.
Wonder if it goes back inside to the big man that grabs a lot of rebounds, gets a lot of blocks, and does keep the opposition just to like 40%. Like he's guarding that guy at the rim. No one can score on him because he's so huge. So I'll agree with you. What do you got for defense play there?
I like that pick. I think Rudy Gobert is nice, but it's time for Anthony Davis to start winning awards, and I think he's going to take home Defensive Player of the Year this season. Last year, the Pelicans were 22nd in defensive efficiency. Alvin Gentry and Darren Erman, their new coaches, are already talking about putting them in the top 10 this year just by simplifying things and letting Anthony Davis be Anthony Davis. He can do basically anything you need from a big guy. He can guard the pick and roll up top. He can switch if you need him to. He led the league in block shots, both total and per game last year. He's a menace defensively, and I think that Alvin Gentry and Erman are just going to showcase him even more, and I think that it could be the first major award for Anthony Davis this season.
You're going to, like you said, you're going to need to see the Pelicans get up into the upper echelon of defensive teams, because that sort of is almost like you need to have that now to win this award. You have to be on one of the better defensive teams.
What I'm worried about is that Drew Holiday isn't going to play a lot of minutes there. You need another really good defender. Like last year when Kawhi won, he's got Tim Duncan. Joakim Noah won the year before. He obviously has Jimmy Butler on the perimeter. Drew Holiday doesn't look like himself, and I'm just worried about it. Everyone got to the rim on that team, against that team last year.
It oddly is
you need somebody to stop
a team award, but you sort of then give it to one individual player. Who are you going with, Lee?
Kawhi won it last year. I'm going to pick him to win it again this year.
Back to back.
Yeah, I think he can do it because what I like about him is not that this is necessarily a stat, but he plays highlight reel defense, and I think that really stands out. Not many people can really turn defense into their own offense as quickly as he can. You see here, like with a steal on Steph Curry and then down the other end for a dunk. That's what I think coaches and the voters will really notice about him, is that he can pretty much guard anyone 1 through 4 as well. He's very versatile. He gets a lot of steals, got those great big long arms. He gets block shots. He can move his body as well. He also reads the passing lanes really, really well. He's got a great defensive IQ. And I just think last year we saw him because he had a bit of a slow start with the injury, then he really turned it on. I think now, this year, especially with LaMarcus Aldridge there and Tim Duncan, he's going to be free to do whatever he wants on defense.
You didn't even say his really big hands. I'm surprised. Anytime someone talks about Kawhi.
It goes without saying, really.
Big arms,
I mean, talking about those hands, you see, remember against Chris Paul last year, Paul would have the ball. He's a great ball handler, and Kawhi could just poke it away from him as well. So
here are our picks. Defense Player of the Year. Tass and I going with Rudy Gobert. Trey, Anthony Davis. Lee says Kawhi Leonard back-to-back. I know there's going to be a lot of votes for Draymond Green. I'm sure Serge Ibaka is going to come up. So let's hear from you guys. Jump on Twitter, #TheStarters. Who do you like taking home DPOY? We got to take a break. When we come back, Trey's beard jumps in the hot seat to tell us who is the NBA's best rivalry and a whole lot more. Come on back.
It's flammable, man. Scary.
Back with the starter season preview. There's the bearded one, Trey Kirby, on the hot seat for 5 pressure-packed questions of his own. If we could please turn up the heat in here, make this very intense. Thank you. Trey, 5 questions for you. First one, who is this year's social media MVP?
Well, MVP last year, Steph Curry, and to me, also social media MVP, and I think he's going back-to-back this year because he does it on court and off court. You remember all the crazy vines he busted out last year for all of his incredible dribbling moves and his shots, and then there was the off-court stuff too, you know, like his incredibly cute daughter. Plus, things have already started early this preseason. He's given high fives before his ball is even halfway to the hoop on his three-pointers. I think Steph Curry just has the game and the personality and honestly, the family to be a social media MVP back-to-back years.
All right, it's very important. He does have the family. All right, next question. What is the NBA's best rivalry?
That's Steph Curry, too, to me. It's Clippers versus Warriors, and I think this is a pretty easy choice. These two teams hate each other. There have been incredible trash talk quotes going back and forth. We're talking about cool story, Glenn, this sort of thing. The Clippers are sort of accusing the Warriors of having an easy schedule during the finals or during the playoffs last year. Meanwhile, the Warriors are apologizing for beating the teams they played and for winning all the trophies and for getting all of the hardware last year. I love that these are two good teams that are in the same state that play 4 times a year. It's going to be awesome. This, to me, is the best rivalry in the league right now.
And hopefully in the playoffs.
Let's hope so.
All right. Question 22 overall. Who will perform at All-Star Game in Toronto?
Also a fairly easy one, I would say. Drake is the ambassador for the Toronto Raptors. He helped get the All-Star game to Toronto. The only question to me is, besides Drake, who's going to perform with him? I think it'd be interesting to see Future out there. Maybe he'll enlist 2 Chainz. There are a lot of songs that play in NBA arenas by Drake.
23 teammates least likely to get along. Who is it?
Well, you guys know I think that Kobe's going to have a very angry season. I think it's pretty easy to pick Kobe yelling at somebody as the teammate that he's not going to get along with. For me, the guy seems to be Roy Hibbert, because Kobe's usually pretty hard on big guys, and Roy Hibbert has had a history of disappearing from time to time and having a little beef with some other players in his locker room and feeling free to speak to the media. So I think it wouldn't be surprising for Kobe and Roy Hibbert to both kind of get under each other's skin a few times here and there.
All right, final question here for Trey Kirby on the hot seat. You had some fun this summer, Trey, shooting an artsy-like film of you doing cannonballs. So tell us and tell the people out there, what's the secret to a great cannonball?
The secret to a great cannonball is just embracing it, you know? People don't want to have fun in a pool anymore. Everybody wants to look cool and get their tans on, but when you see that pool, when you first get to a pool, it's got pure glass water. You want to hit a cannonball right then to show people you mean business, and by business, you mean fun. So it's all about having fun and also keeping it tucked. Don't feel bad about throwing in a freestyle cannonball, doing a cool jump move, you know, slapping your hands in between, but you always want to come back to the tuck.
You look pretty cool with your sunglasses.
Yeah.
You got
A lot
some
of people-
pretty good height for a big guy.
Hey, I'm pretty agile. A lot of people consider the sunglasses my signature look, so, you know, gotta keep it real.
So there it is. Stop trying to pretend you're cool at the pool.
Public.
Do a cannonball, who cares?
I don't want to be in that public pool, man.
All right, good stuff, Kirby. We got to take one more break. When we come back, the fans decide whether this is Kobe's final season. You're watching the Starters. The Starters fans have spoken. We asked you whether Kobe will retire after this season, 2015-16. 62% of you over on the Starters Facebook page say no.
They say no B.
We're getting more Kobe after this season. 38% though think this could be the last one for the Black Mamba. We will find out. The case though, slowly coming together here. 24 questions of our 72 burning questions.
24, that's Ricky Henderson.
In the books. Yes.
Good math, yeah.
And if my math's correct, we're a third of the way done, but lots to come on part 4. We'll get into the toughest team to predict. We'll talk about a few of our favorite under-the-radar moves. And is this the year we finally make the All-Star Celebrity Game?
Gotta be.
These are the questions that people want answers for. We'll get to them tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, if you think you've been at your job long, Queen Elizabeth has been at hers for 63 years.
Woo! Race tonight, people.